Hi, my name is John Gosman and Shalom to you. According to me, there's only two different types of humans. The one that is beast-like and the one that is owl-like. Owl-like is mighty one-like. According to scientists, the first primate that was able to walk upright was considered to be a human. So just the ability to walk makes you a human. But those Homo erectus had the same IQ and the same behavior as the primate. So there were many of these Homo type of species that were categorized based on their IQ and their abilities. But all of a sudden, the Homo sapien came along. And that's where the missing link is. There was no evolution or natural progression from one human species to the next. The Homo sapien is the intelligent human. But I don't see that as the mighty one human. The mighty one human has got very few characteristics, so has the beast-like also very few characteristics. But what I want to talk about is the ability to see what others can't see, and that the mighty one can do. The beast-like cannot do it. And this is what's happening with this coronavirus. For me, it's showing all these people that are beast-like, or mighty one-like. And what it is lies, deception, brainwashing, controlling. So yesterday, I watched a video. I'm very surprised I watched the whole 8 minutes. But I'm sure that businessman must be a lay preacher or wants to be a politician or something. He was exactly the same as any political or religious leader. And he gave this whole story about the coronavirus being just another flu. Out of just over 500 seconds that he spent talking, about 10 seconds, there is quarantines and no travelling. No facts. Mentioned 2% death rates. But that's not the fact. So yesterday we had Mr. President no action. Hasn't said anything for months. The whole world's going crazy, quarantine, no flying, restrictions, prepping. America's got 50 billion that they set aside for the coronavirus. What he said yesterday was nothing. Oh, and he also encouraged, from what I hear, because I don't watch this rubbish, they're going to distribute 1 million pamphlets telling people what to do or not to do. Well, I recall, if you touch the paper and you pass it on to someone else and someone else and someone else, if there's a coronavirus on there, you're going to be spreading the coronavirus. So I hope that's not true. But then again, this is typical over the last 25 years. There's just been destruction from the ANC. And then apparently says don't shake each other's hands, but touch each other's elbows. That's contact. This virus can last for up to days, if not weeks. But anyway, Mr. President, no action, encourages you, keep contact, spread the virus. So those are all lies that people believe. I even seen some comments saying, wow, what a great speech by Mr. No Action. And what has he ever done in the last 3 years? So if you're one of those people that believe a lie and you propagate a lie and you don't look at the facts and you don't propagate those facts, then you've got a beast-like character. Now let me give you the facts. Well, I'm not going to give you all of the facts, but I'm going to give you enough facts for you to understand. We're not dealing with a common flu. We're dealing with a bioweapon or something that was caused by 5G. That I'll do in another video. But let's look at the facts. On the 31st of December 2019, China alerted the World Health Organization of an unknown virus. On January the 5th, Chinese officials ruled out the possibility that the virus was a reoccurrence of SARS. On January the 7th, Wu announced that the new virus was named 2019 nCoV. No major concern or cause for alarm was announced. On January the 11th, the first death in China. On January 13, Wu reported a case in Thailand, the first outside of China. On January 17, as a second death was reported in Wuhan, health authorities in the USA announced that 3 airports would start screening passengers arriving from Wuhan. On January the 22nd, the death toll in China jumped to 17, with more than 550 infections. On January the 23rd, Wuhan was placed under quarantine. Air and rail departures were suspended. Many European airports stepped up checks on flights from Wuhan. On January the 31st, Trump declared a public health emergency in the USA and blocked foreigners who visited China from entering the country. On the 30th of January, Russia closes its borders with China. Now, does that sound like trying to prevent a common flu? Major drastic actions that is costing trillions. Many businesses are going bankrupt. People are quarantined, over 200 million. They're not giving you the facts, they're just telling you it's a common flu. So there's many more facts that I can give you. But what I'm going to give you now is that European countries have become the epicenter of the coronavirus. I believe for 2 reasons. One, European people travel more. And number 2, I believe that the stats that have been given in now are from these countries. And from the other countries, they're a bit slower. But I'm sure those stats are going to start coming in and we'll start getting a true reflection. But just look at these facts and you'll see this is not a common flu. Your political leaders, your religious leaders, you and people around you are lying to you. What I'm saying is that, yeah, you can survive this flu. Well, what I'm saying is that you can survive this virus. But more importantly, get out of believing lies. Look at the facts and decide for yourself what to do, whether you must buy something extra or do whatever. Just don't take anybody's word for it. So let's look at these facts. In the new cases from the 11th of March to 16th of March 2020, the top 10 affected countries in the world has an increase of 55% of new cases in 5 days. And you'll see that the European countries are right up there in the 70%. When we look at the deaths, we find that the death rate is at 61%, with most of the European countries way above the average. When we project this 55% increase on a daily rate, we find that the new cases would go up to 70 million in 14 days. If we project this at a 55% on a weekly basis, we'll see that the new cases will increase by 2 million over 6 weeks. Now, we don't know if it's going to stay like this or if it's going to change. If it stays like this on a daily basis, which it is, or changes to a weekly basis of a 55%, what impact it will have. Doing the same with the new deaths, we find that at 61% on a daily basis would give you almost 5 million deaths in 14 days. And looking at it over the period of 6 weeks, at 61%, we will be sitting at approximately 110,000 deaths. When we take all the European countries and compare them to China, from the 11th to the 16th of March, we find that the European countries' total cases was 46%, but in 5 days it went up to 75%. And the total deaths went from 35% to 75%, which means at this rate we're looking at about 2, maybe not even 3 days. So by the 18th, 19th of March, the European countries will have more cases of coronavirus affected people than China has. What's also very shocking that compared to the recovery rate of those affected, the European nations were sitting at 3%, and after 5 days they went up to 5% recovery. Another very, very shocking statistic is that when we compare China to the European countries, we find that China has only 47% of active cases compared to the European countries, which was the 11th of March. 5 days later, that dropped to 5%, which shows that the amount of active cases amongst the European countries is growing at a very rapid rate. Moving off from the 10 top countries that are affected and comparing the European countries to China, when we look at all of the cases in the world, when we look at the limits that I've set here, comparing what countries have got over 100 cases, or 1,000 or 5,000, whichever limit, and all the other limits I've set here, we find that the countries on the 11th of March tripled by the 16th of March. And those are all the countries that jumped into the over 3 figures of cases. When you look at this graph, the most important thing to look at is the red column. The bigger the red column gets towards the right hand side of this graph, the greater the amount of cases and the greater the amount of countries that are affected. This will be a very interesting graph to watch, just to have a quick indication of how serious the situation is. And the same goes for the deaths per country. From what I've looked at, we will see that the red columns will start growing pretty rapidly. So those are the facts. So yeah, hopefully you haven't got the nature of the beast, and if you have, I hope you get rid of it, and I hope you subscribe and watch my videos on my YouTube channel, and just keep yourself informed. I'm not a fearmonger. I believe everybody's got the right to know the truth and make the right decisions for their loved ones and their own life. And if you haven't noticed, yeah, politicians, religions, leaders, and their people that follow them and worship them, they're not my favorites. So yeah, what you're looking at here is 81% of the world's countries are affected by the coronavirus as of the 16th of March. So we're looking at this rate, I don't know, 5 days, maybe even less, that every single country in this world will have the coronavirus. So our politicians, religious leaders, and business people can stand on a platform and say that this is just a common flu. They're doing all these drastic measures because they don't quite know what the effect will be. They do know it's a bioweapon, or it's caused by 5G, and it's something new. And some people are even talking about there's actually a second virus, a mutation. So until they get a vaccine or do something, all we can do is do what they're doing, is watch the trend, look after yourself, take all the precautions, and above all, don't ever believe a politician or a religious leader or that fool on Instagram that's going around on WhatsApp. Shalom.